Statistics. Histograms. Things you should know already. You should know how to calculate boundaries, how to plot points, and how to read graphs. Key terms. Boundaries. It's a border between two consecutive class intervals. That's halfway between the first class interval and the second class interval, or halfway between the upper limit of one class and the lower limit of the next class. Frequency. That is how often something occurs. Histograms. A histogram is a pictorial representation of continuous data that uses boundaries and frequencies. Here's our question. It says, the table below shows the amount of money spent on shoes. So here's the amount of money spent on shoes, and this is the number of persons who would spend between this $100 to $104 on shoes. So 7 persons would spend between $100 and $104 on shoes. The question says, draw a histogram to represent the data. Use 2 centimeters on the x-axis to represent $5 and 2 centimeters on the y-axis to represent 5 shoes. This really should be persons, right? And up top really should be persons. Great. So remember, we need 2 pieces of information to draw our histogram. Do you remember what 2 pieces of information we need? We need our class boundaries and we need our frequency. Well, our frequency is right here. But where would the class boundaries come from? The class boundaries are estimates that we would have to calculate from our class intervals. Let's see how that is done. Remember, our class boundaries are halfway between one class interval and the next. Let's start here. This is our first class interval and this is our next class interval. To calculate the boundary, I would have to add these two, 104 plus 105. Then I'm going to divide that answer by 2. So I'm going to use my calculator to show you what that looks like. So 104 plus 105 will give us 109, and I'm going to then divide that by 2. So I get 104.5. What do you think I have to do to get the class boundary for here? Well, I would have to add 109 to 110, then divide it by 2. 109 plus 110, then I'm dividing that by 2. So this is what it would look like in my calculator. 109 plus 110 will give me 219, and I'm dividing 219 by 2. That should give me 109.5. If you notice, 104, 104.5, 109, 109.5. This is 114. What do you expect it to be? You're correct. 114.5. So if you notice, we're adding 0.5 to our upper class limits. Now, because these are class boundaries, I need to have also another class boundary. So these over here are my upper class boundaries. Upper class boundaries. So I'm going to need my lower class boundaries as well. What do you think you have to do to get your lower class boundaries? Good question. Now look. To get the upper class boundaries, we added 0.5. Now it's going to be the opposite to get the lower class boundaries. We need to subtract 0.5. So here we have 110. If I have 110 and I'm going to take away 0.5 from it, I'm going to get 109.5. Can you see a pattern same time? And it's a class boundaries, ranges right here. So do you see a pattern same time? Let's subtract 0.5 from 105 and let's see if you see it. So 105 take away 0.5. That will give me 104.5. Do you see a pattern? Look at this. 109.5, 109.5. 104.5, 104.5. Now, what would this one be? If you said 100, take away 0.5, then you're correct, which would be 99.5. Now that we've calculated our class boundaries, the lower class boundaries, these ones, lower class boundaries, and our upper class boundaries, and we already have our frequency, we are ready to plot our histogram. Now remember, my frequency F goes on my y-axis, and my class boundaries now, my X goes on my x-axis. Before I get ready with my graph paper, I want to make sure that I know my X values and my Y values. So my Y values, which are my frequency, is right in this column, and my X values, which are my class boundaries, are right here. So I'm going to show you how we're going to plot this on our graph. So with this class boundary, here is our frequency. With this set of class boundaries, here's our frequency. With this set of class boundaries, here's our frequency. Ready for a graph. So I drew my L, and remember where they meet is 0. I've also labeled my axis, x-axis, and put in my scale, 2 centimeters to 5 units. And I did the same with my y-axis. Y-axis, 2 centimeters to $5 this time. Now, I'm working with the information on my table. When I look at the class boundaries, I see 99.5. Oh my word, how is 99.5 going to hold on this? Fret not. Let's just draw the scale first. Every 2 centimeter represents 5 persons here, and every 2 centimeter represents $5. So I'm going to put in my 2 centimeter marks now. So see, I'm measuring 1 centimeter, 2 centimeter, 1 centimeter, 2 centimeter. And I'm going to continue just like that on my x-axis. 1, 2. Skip 1, next one. Skip 1, next one. Skip 1, next one. Great. Same thing on my y-axis because the scales are the same. Remember, 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now to show that my graph is not starting exactly at 0, you remember what I'm going to use? I'm going to use that break. Triangle up and a triangle down. Something like that. Now I'm going to refer back to my frequency table. So looking at it, remember, these are my class boundaries and my class boundaries are on my x-axis. And on my x-axis, my scale is 2 centimeters to 5 persons. So the first number that I'm going to start at should be a number that 5 can go into. Now when I'm looking at my lower class boundaries, I see 99.5. I know that 5 can go into this, but it's going to leave a remainder. I don't want the remainders being left back. So the next number closest to 99.5 that I could use that 5 can go into without leaving a remainder is 100. So I can start my graph at 100 right here. Now remember, every 2 centimeters I'm going up by 5. So if I start at 100, 5 plus 100 will give me 105. And 105 plus 5 more will give me 110. 110 plus 5 gives us 115. 115 plus 5 gives us 120. 120 and 5 will give us 125. And guess the last one is 130. Great. Now, cool. So this is what the break does. So the break basically saves us some space on our graph paper. Now remember, same scale on our y-axis, every 2 is $5. So 0 plus 5, $5 here. 5 plus 5, $10 here. 10 plus 5, $15 here. And we're going up 20, 25, and 30. Now my graph is prepared and it's ready to put my histogram on it. Now remember, with my histogram, I'm plotting my class boundaries along with my frequency. So I need to look for where 99.5 would lie on my x-axis. So to find where 99.5 is, I know it's somewhere between basically 0 and 100. But to find it exactly, I need to do space divided by scale. Now, I can use any space here between these 2 points, between 2 adjoining numbers. So I need to count how much space is here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 10 spaces and our scale was 5. So we end up having 10 divided by 5. And 10 divided by 5 is 2. So every 2 space means 1 unit on our x-axis. So now I'm trying to find 99. I know 99 is less than 100. So I can't move forward. I would have to move backwards. So I'm going to move backwards 2 spaces. 1, 2. So this line here represents 99. Now, on my histogram frequency table, I don't want 99. I want 99.5. And 99.5 is halfway between 99 and 100. Let's see what that looks like a little bit closer. So there it is, or 99 and 100. We don't want 99, we want halfway between 99 and 100, which is 99.5. So my 99.5 will be right here. So I'm going to draw a line, go straight up. Right? Then now, the next class boundary I'm going to look for is 104.5. So I need to find where 104.5 is, and I know that it's between 105 and 100. Right? So remember, every 2 spaces is 1. And if I'm looking for 104, it is closer to 105. So I can say 1, 2, and this will give me 104. Right? I could also do it the long way from 100, you know. I can say 1, 2, 101, 1, 2, 102, 1, 2, 103, and 1, 2, 104. Right? Now remember, I'm looking for 104.5, which is halfway between 104 and 105, which is this little line right here. So I'm going to draw my vertical line passing through that point going up. Great. A little paint, so I need to make the others brighter. So then now after 104.5 comes 109.5. So I need to look for 109.5. 109.5 is somewhere between 105 and 110. Remember, 2 little spaces means 1 unit. So if I'm trying to find 109, I can go 1, 2, 106, 1, 2, 107, 1, 2, 108, and 1, 2, 109. But I'm looking for 109.5, which is halfway between 109 and 110. So I have to draw my line right here, halfway between 109 and 110. There you go. Then the next boundary I'm looking for is going to be 114.5. So I know 114.5 is somewhere between 110 and 115. I know that 114 is 1 less than 115. And remember, on our x-axis, 1 less is 2 spaces. So 1, 2. This will give us 114. But I don't want 114. I want 114.5. So I need halfway between the 114 and the 115, which is right here. So I'm going to draw a line, go straight up. There you go. Now remember, when we're dealing with histogram, we use the boundaries as well as the frequency. So with the first class boundary, 99.5 to 104.5, the frequency is 7. So I need to look on my y-axis now to find 7. Remember now, because of the space divided by scale, or space is here is 10, and the scale is 5. So when I divide it out, I go get 2. So every little 2 on the y-axis now is 1 unit. If I'm going to look for 7, I know it's somewhere between 5 and 10. So 1, 2 will give me 6, and 1, 2 will give me 7. So this is where my 7 is, right here. So now that I found my 7, and I found my class boundaries 99.5 and 104.5, what I do, I will draw the line, a horizontal line, from 7 to touch these 2, like so. And what I'm going to do is to make it brighter, right? So when you're doing yours, you must make yours brighter too, right? So see, if I look at it, for this class, so when I look at it, for this class boundary, it stops at 7. So I need to go and do the other class boundaries. So when I look at the next one now, for 104.5 to 109.5, the frequency is 21. So I need to find 21 on my y-axis. So 20, and remember, every 2 is 1 on our y-axis because of scale, space divided by scale. So 20, 1, 2, 21 is right here. So I'm going to draw a horizontal line going right across now. There we go. So it touches the 104.5 right here, and it touches the 109.5 right here. What I need to do is to brighten those lines. See? Brighten the lines. So when I check it out, the class interval of 104.5 to 109.5 goes directly to 21. What's the next one? 109.5 to 114.5. So it's this one, and the frequency for that is 15. So I need to look for 15 on my y-axis. Here it is. And then I'm just going to draw a horizontal line through that point to come across to touch these. So it touches 109.5 right here, and it touches 14.5 right here. What I'm going to do again is brighten these lines. There you go. And here we go. And that's basically it for our histogram. Only thing that's left is for us to give it a title. So histogram showing money spent on shoes. Oh, shoes. Great. So this is what our histogram looks like. Now, usually they could ask us one more question. They could ask us to calculate the mode or identify the mode. So identify the mode from the frequency, from the histogram. Now to do that, what you need to do is to look at the tallest bar, which is this one. Then you look at this edge and draw a line to carry it across to touch this other edge. And this edge to touch this edge. So let me show you. Steer that edge to touch this edge to touch this edge. So it's like I'm making a cross or an X. Where they meet now, I'm going to draw a line to touch the x-axis. So down here, so at this point would have been my mode. Right here, so would have been my mode. Then now I need to read off the mode value. So remember now, every 2 on the x-axis is 1. And remember right here, so is 105. So 105, 12, 106, 12, 107, 12, 108. So our mode is 108. And that's it.